Hello everyone, welcome to join today's QNAP broadcast. Today we would like to bring you our new switch. The model name is QSW-M2116P-2T2S. This is a brand new switch for QNAP because this is the first one with the PoE solutions inside. We will have a high-speed network with the PoE solutions on it, which can give you your business or store for a single device, but can resolve a lot of the issues on your network. So today we will start to introduce these models and let you know how you can install in your field, and from the hardware, software, what is the spec it is. And also we would like to let you know why we will have this PoE switch and what the feedback we are coming from our customers. And the last topic is we will show you, because the QNAP have a lot of like a NAS or network card, you can cooperate with your current network and also cooperate with our new switch QSW-M2116P. So we will go into for today's slides to show you how we can do for your solutions. So we can go now for the slides. And the QSW-M2116P-2T2S, you can see on this slide, is a L2 switch with the 2.5 and the 10 gig high-speed network on it with the PoE++, which means we can support up to 90 watts for the PoE. And the single device can help you have a stable network for office or store environment, because we have a high-speed network and the PoE solutions on it. So the 2.5 with 10 gig with the PoE can resolve all problems with your office or store for single installations. You can see these multiple solutions can do a lot of things. So we will go into two kind of scenario to show you how can you deploy it at your network. So the first one is for the single store installations. As you can see on this scenario, we have a lot of PoE device inside a store, like a Wi-Fi or like a surveillance. All these devices, they can get the power from the Ethernet, the PoE. Maybe you will ask, okay, I still can use the power adapter for this kind of device. That's for sure. But from the real life, if you like to use the power adapter for this kind of device for deployment, which means you need to find a place for the power adapters. It is a little bit complicated to do the deployment. Why don't you just use the Ethernet cable and also have the PoE on it? Then you can make sure the device can connect to internet or the network and also get the power from the switch. So for this kind of single store deployment, we can use our M2116P to have solutions. But if you can use the M2116P, another advantage is it can give you a high-speed network for uplink to the internet. Like if you have a QHORA 301W right here, because the QHORA can support 10 gig network speed. So we can connect the 10 gig network cables from the QHORA to the M2116P, and can make sure your internet access can always be in the 10 gig fast. Because if you can give the high speed for your client, high speed for this device, but your network for the internet is very slow, this is also not so efficiency for the network. So the M2116P can also make sure you have a high-speed internet access, can connect to the router. So this is for the single store. But how about like the office? Because maybe your office is a building in different floor, so which means you will have a multiple switch installations inside this building. Like this scenario, we have a 3 switch right here, and I have a high-speed routers like a QHORA 301W for 10 gig. So you can connect your router to the first switch with the 10 gig network, and the first switch go to the second and go to the third one with all 10 gig fast Ethernet speed. That which means your backbone right now from the router to the last switch all running in 10 gig speed. Because for the office you will have a lot of equipment like your PC, like your laptop, or also you have a access point for the Wi-Fi coverage. And if you talk about Wi-Fi coverage, which means you will have more clients in your network. So for each device can have a high-speed network, which means your backbone also needs support much faster than others. You can imagine if your clients can have like a 2.5, but your backbone only have a 1 gig. The network efficiency is not so good for the networking. So this kind of deployments from the router to the last switch with the high-speed backbone is multiple deployments for your network solutions. So M2116P can do this kind of deployment for you because we support 10 gig connections on it, and also we have two kind of connections. As you can see right here, we have RJ45 and the SFP Plus, two kind of connectors. We'll give you more detail about the connector in the later slides to let you know how we can deploy that. So two kind of scenarios to give you a concept for the single or multiple M2116P, how you can deploy it. So this is give you more concept for more detail for the edge device, because you can connect a lot of kind of a device to the M2116P. We just give you an example right here, because we have a different kind of port speed and also different kind of PoE standard on the M2116P. So you can connect like if your edge device is only on the 2.5 gig, or the PoE device like access point only need a 30 watts PoE solutions, then you can connect to our 2.5 gig RJ45 port, because on the 2.5 RJ45 it supports up to 30 watts PoE. Then in the middle we have a 10 gig with the SFP Plus, which means it supports up to 10 gig. Then you can connect to your core switch, because on the core switch you can use the SFP cables just directly connected for the backbone. And also if you have the high-speed NAS, also support up to 10 gig and can use the SFP Plus for connections, then you can connect to the SFP Plus. Then is the two 10 gig RJ45 with the PoE up to 90 watts, which means if your access point have a high speed backhaul like a 10 gig, then you can connect to this port. Or your power over device, PoE device can need much more power, like up to 90 watts, then you can connect to the 90 watts on the 10 gig port. So this is you can do different combinations for the deployments. This is just give you some idea. You can do like this. Of course you have multiple options, then just plug in, because for the M2116P it can do a lot of things on it. So this give you some short conclude with the what the benefits you can use, because we have two kind of major target for these models. We have PoE standard and with the multiple type, because we have on the 2.5 we support to the 30 watts. On the 10 gig we support up to 90 watts, and the PoE power consumptions we totally up to 280 watts. And because this is the PoE device, we have a brand new PoE management interface. I will give you the more details in the later slides to tell you what we can do for the PoE on the management interface. And also we make sure your uplink can always be the high speed, so we support 10 gig for your uplink connectors. And two kind of 10 gig just give you an options, because maybe you will keep in RJ45 or you already have the SFP Plus. So it just depends on what kind of cables you like to use. And also for the 10 gig RJ45 we support up to 90 watts per port, because we see a lot of the PoE device now already support already need high watts for the power. So if you need the like the 90 watts, you can connect to our 10 gig RJ45 port. So this is the benefit if you want to use our M2116P to deploy into your network, because we have multiple rows with a high-speed network, we have a PoE on it, then you can just plug in into your network to give you more benefits. So above is we show you how can deploy our M21P into your network. Now we will show you why the QNAP start thinking we like to have a PoE switch on it, because we get a lot of customer feedback. They have this kind of deployments, they need to have that kind of solutions. So we give you some introduction from the beginning why the QNAP like to have a M2116, this kind of PoE solutions. So the first part is the PoE, because we see a lot of device now is running on the PoE, and a lot of service they like to have the PoE, like the access point. And also for the access point, now they getting higher speed for the clients, which means it's like, because a lot of the wireless clients, they support them fast wireless standard, because like your mobile, like your laptop, like you also maybe some of your PC, they need a high speed wireless network, because the data file size is getting larger, so they need to have a high speed for the wireless. So you can see like the standard, it is keep on going for the newer standard, from like the Wi-Fi 4 now come to Wi-Fi 5 and Wi-Fi 6, and also now it's already start talking about the Wi-Fi 6E. So the Wi-Fi speed is getting faster, so which means the access point, they need to also getting faster for the wireless service. But for this kind of increasing for the wireless speed, which means the PoE demand is also increasing, because you need to have much more power to give much more wireless speed. So if talk about the access point now, from the beginning maybe only talk about the 15 watts and go to the 30 watts, and to the current now some access point is already talk about they need to have 90 watts, because for the like the much more high speed. Some of the AP they already have the 10 gig backhaul, because need to have the high speed network, some kind of that. So the PoE demand is also getting higher than before. And it's not only for the wireless. You can see this, because we already showed this slide before for the small store. Not only for the wireless. If you talk about it's like the surveillance or POS device, or a lot of equipment at the store, they all need to use the PoE device, because the store they like to resolve the internet or network access and the power together. They don't like to have power cables. They don't like to have a network cable separate. They like to merge this kind of cable together. So the PoE switch is much more popular for the store solutions. So this is for the PoE, from the PoE device, why the QNAP start thinking about we like to have a PoE device, because the PoE on the service for the store or the office is much more important than before. Okay, then now we have the PoE solutions on the switch, on the M2116P, but is the PoE enough for the switch? How about others? Then we coming out another topic is the high-speed network, because this is not only for the M2116P. This is also for the concept for QNAP designing our switch. We like to take care of the high-speed network, not only for the backbone, not only for uplink and the downlink. We like to also take care for the high-speed equipment. So you can see on our device, we will have more than 2 high-speed network, and also 2 kind of connectors is very important for the device, because you cannot limit the users. They can only use RJ45 or they can only use SFP plus. We need to give them more options on it. So for the M2116P, we are not only for the PoE, we also give the high-speed network. So this is the issues. I think most of the store now is facing this kind of issues. Before the previous slides, we tell you, okay, now you can have a high-speed network, because we want to resolve this kind of situations. You have a lot of device inside, including your Wi-Fi access point, which means you give the wireless access for your customers inside the store. And maybe you are very kindly give them very high speed, like a Wi-Fi 6 connections for the customers. But if your internet access is only 1 gig, then which means now the customer can see, I can have a Wi-Fi 6 connections to your Wi-Fi network, but my network speed still keep in 1 gig. So the feel is not so good. Maybe you're causing some complaint for your network. Your network is so bad, I cannot have a high-speed network, blah blah blah. So if you have the M2116P inside, which means not only for your clients can have a high-speed network to their PC, to their laptop, they also can enjoy the high-speed network go to the internet, because we can have an uplink to the internet with the 10 gig port speed. And if talk about is the building or the office, then the effect, if you only have a low speed backbone, then it will coming out more issues, like if we have the wireless connections, then all your employees, they go through the internet through the wireless. But if your backbone only keep in 1 gig, maybe 2-3 clients, not so much issues. But how about 10-20 clients inside your office? And then we are talking about the wireless. If you also have the laptop connect to your 2.5 gig port, you have a NAS connect to your 2.5 gig port, or 10 gig NAS connect to your 10 gig port, but your backbone is only keep in 1 gig. It's very, very, very slow. So you need to upgrade your backbone. If you go to the M2116P, which means in the previous slides, you can deploy multiple M2116P and a different floor, give the power for the PoE device, give the high speed for your PC, also keep the high-speed network for your backbone. So this kind of deployment is to resolve these issues. I think a lot of the office now is facing for these issues. So the 10 gig port can help you to resolve your backbone network or your outgoing internet access, because our M2116P can give you 10 gig port speed for the internet access or the backbone access. Different kind of deployment just depends on what kind of environment you like to deploy. So above is we've coming from the scenario to tell you how we can deliver our M2116P into your environment, and what is the concept why the QNAP like to have this kind of design for our switch. And then we will go to the hardware introductions and the software introductions to give you more details about the hardware and the software. The first part is the hardware front panels. Right here you can see from the left to the right, the front panel is we have 3 LEDs. On the left is the system status, PoE status, and the most important is the fan status on it. As you know, for the PoE switch, the thermal is the issues. So we need to make sure the PoE switch can work well. Then the temperature for the working models is very important. And to control the temperature is work with in a fine temperature, which means the fan is very important. So we have a dedicated fan LEDs right here. You can see from the front panel, is this device, the fan working fine or have some issues on it? Then you can see from the LED status. You don't need to access to the web interface to check the fan is working or not. You just reading the LED colors, then you can realize what the status for the fan on this switch. Okay, and then in the middle we have a 16 ports with the 2.5 GHz RJ45, and all these 16 ports will support PoE to the 30 watts. And the two 10 gig SFP plus, you can connect your SFP plus cables directly. On the right hand side, we have a two 10 gig RJ45 and can support up to 90 watts per port. So which means you have a highly PoE power device need to more than 30 watts, then you can connect to here. So this is the front panel for our M2116P. And also we like to make sure the M2116P can work very well in your environments, because this is the PoE device, which means the temperature will be much higher than other switch. So inside the design, from the hardware, we designed different kind of design inside to make sure the device can work very well, like our fan with a double ball bearing fan. We have a very large heatsink on it, all solid capacitors to make sure the device can work in fine. Also in the high temperatures, with the if you have a highly PoE powers request, we can make sure our M2116P is work very well. So above is the hardware introductions. Now we will go into the software introductions, and the first one is very important and is also the new design for QNAP Switch. Is the we have a fully PoE management interface. The M2116P is a very powerful PoE switch, which means we also need to have a very powerful web GUI for the configurations. So we can check the PoE budget on the GUI, or you can have a power prioritize or remote reboot power device. And the most important functions in the PoE management is the PoE scheduling. A lot of the users, they are talking about the PoE, not only talk about how much power budgets they need to have, not only how much budget for each port. They also like to have the scheduling. Is you can imagine if you are ITs in the office, and you only need to have the wireless access for the employee only on the office hours. You like to disable your wireless after the office. But if you like to manually unplug or power off each access point, this is totally not make sense. If you can have single deployment, single configurations, and automatically to do this help for you, is very good for the IT guys. So you just need to configure the PoE scheduling, like you can choose for each port, for each PoE you like to enable in which time and disable it in what time, then apply it. All the scheduling will run by automatically. Like you can automatically put up the PoE, the access point in the early mornings, then start giving the wireless for your employee and the power of all the access points after the work. Because that means you can keep always have the wireless access in the office hours, but without the office hours, you close it. You don't need to worry about somebody still access to you or try to access to your wireless, do some scanning, something like that, because this is also have some security concerns inside. You can just enable the PoE scheduling, set up the time you want to enable, disable the PoE power device, then everything is done. Every day, or for each schedule, the M2116P can help you put up or turn off your PoE power device. This is very important functions inside the PoE management. And of all the design for the GUI for our QNAP switch is we have a very easily used for the GUIs, like have a lot of graphic on it, very straightforward designs, can help you get more information on the GUI, like you can check the CPU status, the port status, and also because this have a PoE switch, so you can also get the PoE status on it very easily, very clear. You can read it very easy to get the information you needed. And of course, we have a lot of functions on it, like the VLAN right here. Because from the beginning, we talk about the M2116P can do single installations for a lot of to resolve a lot of issues from you. So maybe you are office owners, but you still have a different department. You like to separate your network, especially you like to separate your office network with the guest network. Because for the office network, the laptop, the PC, the equipment, you can make sure they are all in secure. But for your guest, can you make sure the mobile phone, their laptop is very good for security issue without any effect on their network? But if they plug in their PC, their wireless device into your office work, then that is a highly risk for your network management. But if you can separate it, kind of security isolate for different network, is very good for your deployments. Then, which means you can use the VLAN in this kind of a scenario. You separate your office network with the guest network. Make sure all these two network will not communicate to each other. Can do kind of risk control. So VLAN is very important for this kind of single device installations, but need to use for different network. Of course, you need to cooperate with a router to provide the like a DHCP IPs into different VLANs, but you need to have a switch for that, because the router usually don't have such a lot of port connections. You need to have a switch. And the next one is the LAG. A lot of NAS can support this one, because maybe the users, they only need lower speed for the network from the beginning, but after a few months or few years, they like to upgrade their port speed, but they don't want to have a brand new NAS. They just want to use the LAG. The LAG, the meaning for the LAG is can logically combine multiple physical connection into logical connections, which means you can have a 2.5 with the two cables, with become a logical 5 gig connections. So a lot of the NAS deployment, they will do like this. So also on the M2116P, we support the LAG, which means we can support this kind of deployments. They can make sure that more than one physical connections can logically become a single logical connections with the high-speed network. They can use the LAG. Next one is the IGMP snooping. This is for the streamings. If you are using a streaming in your network, if you without the IGMP snooping, maybe you have a single or only 2 or 3 equipment and only for single channels, maybe you don't feel the difference. But actually, for this kind of streamings, they are all using the broadcast. So if you have more channels, or your device is much more than before, you will see your network bandwidth is getting lower, because all the streaming is coming from the broadcast. Or sometimes if you're watching, like you're watching on channel 1, but suddenly you will go to a channel 2, because they are all using the broadcast. The clients cannot make sure which channels now it will get. The IGMP snooping is helping you to resolve this issue. It can make sure all the clients can get the right channels they like to watch it. So the IGMP snooping is very important for the streaming environment. And this one is for all kind of deployments, because this is the best one is the firmware version live check. If you are IT, if you have the network device, usually the companies will tell you, give you emails, or some sales guy will call you to tell you now we have newer versions, and please make sure you need to upgrade the firmware. But that's it. You still need to go to the global website. You still need to find a download link to download the firmwares. But sometimes maybe you are so busy, then you will forget to upgrade, or they already have released more than 2 or 3 versions. Now you don't know which one is the latest one. So how can you verify which versions you like to upgrade? If you have the firmware version live check, then this is not the issue for you, because on our QSW-M2116P, we will have a live check to tell you which versions now is the latest one. Then you can decide if you want to upgrade or not. But if some IT guys, they still tell you, I like to use the original one, I like to download my firmwares by manually, they upload it, we still keep the manual update functions for the firmware versions, firmware check. So you can choose you like to use the live check, or you can use the manually update. Just depends on you. And of course, we have a lot of functions on the M2116P. I cannot give you all the introductions right here. You can get one, go back, then log into the GUI to check how about what the functions we have on it. Like we have a flow control to make sure the packet transfer is very well, avoid the packet loss. And the LLDP can let you easily to know which device now is connected to your switch. And the energy saved is also included in our QSW-M2116P. So you can get one, go back into your office or to your store, then install it, then you will realize how much functions we have, how much benefits we can give you from the also from the software point of view. So above is the introduction for the M2116P. We start from our scenario now, go to the hardware, and is the software. But this is a switch. The QNAP, we have a lot of solutions for the network. And now we like to introduce how you can use other QNAP equipment cooperate with the M2116P, because you have a lot of ideas right now, because we tell you for M2116P we have a high-speed network, we have a PoE on it, so you already know we have a lot of deployments if you use in this switch. So how about the NAS? NAS, we have also a lot of NAS support up to 2.5 gig, no matter for the professional user or the streaming user. Like we will tell you we have like IGMP inside, so also the streaming can use for that. So the streaming NAS, we also support it. And of course, for the 10 gig, 5 gig, and other 2.5 gig NAS, we have a lot of models right here. And we already talked about on the M2116P. For 10 gig, we have a SFP Plus or RJ45. Then you just depends on what kind of equipment you like to connect it. So right here, we have a different kind of options for the NAS. You can choose to use the RJ45 besties models, or you like to use the SFP Plus models. So depends on your usage, depends on your network. And you will say that, okay, you only tell me the NAS, but I only have the personal computer, or my personal computer also like to join a high-speed network. Of course, we have a network card for 10, 5, 2.5 gig solutions. So this is the list for you. You just choose for the card like how many ports you like to have, and what the port speed you like to have. Then get it, just plug in into your PCI slot on your PCs. Then your PC can enjoy the high-speed network. And also for the laptop, because laptop cannot connect the PCI slot, cannot connect the PCI network card, so you can use the USB. For the USB, you can choose using for the 5 gig or much higher. You can use the 10 gig dongle for the USB connectors. So you just choose which one you like to use, choose which port speed you like to use, plug into your USB port on your laptop, then enjoy the high-speed network. You can enjoy connect to the M2116P to enjoy the high-speed network. So this is today's introduction for our new PoE switch, which is a QSW-M2116P-2T2S. We give you two kind of a port speed, 2.5 gig and 10 gig, and also the 10 gig we give you two kind of a connector, is the SFP plus and RJ45. And for the PoE, we can give you 30 watts for the 2.5 gig and 90 watts for the 10 gig. This single switch can resolve a lot of the problems on your network, because we can give you a stable network, high-speed network, and give the power for the PoE device, no matter if you are an office user or the store users. The M2116P can resolve all your issues in your network. So just buy one and go back to try it. So this is today's broadcast for our new switch. Thank you.